have no idea what the fuck.
Welcome to another episode of I Have No Idea What the Fuck, and today we're going to talk about how tyranny basically can be transmitted from the oppressor to the oppressed as an acceptable form of society. So this one's pretty obvious, but essentially social media has exploded since Facebook hit the scene in '06, and there was MySpace before that, but social media wasn't really like a humongous thing. MySpace was a humongous thing. As a matter of fact, when Facebook first came out, everyone kind of saw it as just, oh, this is just another MySpace, but it was so much more, so much bigger, and became so much more popular, and actually set the standard for how impactful social media could be. And since then, other platforms have taken off, and right now, one of the most popular ones is TikTok. So, uh, with that being said, the culture of social media has been such that the algorithms have been tailored to only show you what you like and to only give you what you are biased toward. So if you hear anything snip snapping in the background, I'm just lighting some sage. Don't mind me. Some white sage. But to basically tailor to you what you want to see all the time. So basically, your social media feed is in essence a web, an advertisement web, basically. Because we all know the social media sites grab all the metadata, not only your particular information, but the things that you're interested in. And when they grab the metadata, it creates a web of information that's almost alive and almost creates like a living brain of things that represents. It's almost like your neuro algorithms, your internal patterns from your brain are externalized via metadata, and kind of almost like an AI version of yourself can be created, to where the algorithm's constantly tailoring things that cater to your biases. Not only that, you also have the agency within the ghettos that we call social media networks or social media platforms to block or get rid of anything that you do not like. And the thing about human beings is that we're animals, and we're animals that run toward pleasure and want to run away from pain. We're animals that we do this naturally, but it's also very much massaged to us in a point where that character trait is lauded in us, especially in today's culture. So much so, especially in a consumerist culture, especially in a corporatism culture, that it's made our lives and psychology imbalanced. And so we can pretty much say, I like this or I don't like that. And so you think that the agency of you think that the influence of how popular something is, or it's in your hands. Like, you have so much power. But the truth of the matter is, the social media platform has all the power, because they're the ones providing you the digital space to be able to express yourself, and they can actually take it away. But they're also giving you, quote unquote, the power to block people, or the power to keep bringing people in. So what does all that mean? That means that the influence, the structures that be, because there are structures that have an incentive to keep promoting ideas and products that are not in the best interests of humanity. What happens is, all they have, because basically social media is now an extension, if not the center of pop culture. And basically 99.9% of what human beings consume, even especially with the news, is mostly entertainment. It's not really factual. It's just a story that's made up by producers and writers and influencers and marketers and advertisers who plan in a round table, so to speak. And a round table is actually the name of a secret society, or a web of secret societies. But is planning a round table, so to speak, how best to influence human thought. and they do this every single day, and they measure the results of what they've done, generally in a corporation every quarter. So every 3 months, every 90 days, these professional corporations that are providing these services to you, quote unquote services, are charting and measuring the data that that they're basically measuring, our behavior as a collective, and seeing what data we're feeding them, how we're briefing them, and basically a debrief of our behavior. And they take that and they're like, how can we better manipulate human thought based on this data? Because they're giving us everything. It's not just your name, your age, your birth date, your sexual orientation. It's about what your patterns are, what you do throughout the day. And make no mistake about it, anyone who's been on social media, it's not just your physical features, though that is recorded, and your mannerisms and your voice and all that, everything that you think makes you you. But it's about how often do you go to the grocery store, what do you usually get from the grocery store. If you buy with a card, you're definitely being tracked very easily with that. And and the social media apps have the ability to do that. And while I have not seen this information posited online yet, it just, in my experience, it seems to be very conclusive evidence that a lot of the social media apps share metadata with one another. And so you'll be in one app and you'll be looking at a particular thing about frogs. It's like you'll be in YouTube and you'll watch a 15-minute video about frogs, just for the fuck of it. And then what's going to happen is you'll go into TikTok, and then all of a sudden you'll see everything on the For You page, meaning like the page that introduces you to new accounts and but in line with your interests. You'll have a bunch of shit on frogs, or you'll have a few like a significant amount of posts on the For You page that maybe have a painting of a frog in the background that you may not notice on first glance, or you may have somebody with a pet frog, or you may have posts that with animals that are similar to a frog, reptiles that aren't hard scaled like salamanders, or you may even have something like chameleons or something. It's it seems like these apps, or at least something in your phone, like a master app or a master algorithm, seems to be taking all the metadata from all the apps that you give it, and it translates the information across the apps. So again, about a minute and a half ago, I said, what the fuck does this mean? How does this apply to tyranny? Because social media, over the last at least 14 years since Facebook debuted, it has created a culture of self-serving narcissism in a way. And even if you're not a narcissistic sociopath, even if you're a really decent person, when you get on social media, if you're a social media head, if you're not disciplined in your mind and in your behavior, you can become kind of a low-key narcissist. Not someone that abuses other people, but one that makes a subtle subconscious shift to looking at life as only what you like and what you don't like on a very fundamental level. Now, in one case, the internet has so much information that making an algorithm that's tailored to your interests, it makes sense, because there's just way too much information to excuse me, there's way too much information to have come at you all at once, both on the side of the social media app, the social media platform, and on the side of the consumer that's consuming, the content on social media. That's too much information. I just want the things that I actually care about. It makes sense on the face of it. But on the other side of it, if it's too imbalanced, you can start to subconsciously view life only through the lens of what you like and what you don't like. And if pop culture is dominated, or the values of the culture are dominated by entertainers, meaning producers, writers, actors, it's all about how something looks, how something appears to be. You know what I'm saying? It's like, when I say appears, I'm not even just talking about the visual sense of sight. I'm talking about all the five senses. If it tastes good, then it must be good. If it looks good, then it must be good. If it sounds good, then it must be good. And it tends to superficialize the human psychology if you're not disciplined and you're not aware of this dynamic. So what happens is, what people don't realize is that people who run the news are also entertainers in a way. Many news anchors, not just the anchors because they don't really run shit, but many of the news anchors are trained in acting classes. Many politicians are trained in acting classes, and the producers that produce news TV shows may have connections with people that are in what is considered to be entertainment, or they may have experience in entertainment. So what you have, and then we also have the National Defense Authorization Act of 2013, fiscal year 2013, which basically states that the news of this country can essentially lie to you legally. So what you have here is you have a situation where where information can be easily skewed to lie to you and make something look like it's pleasant or make something look like it's unpleasant. And you are subconsciously carrying the consciousness of social media in you, meaning where you block what you don't like or get rid of what you don't like immediately, and you keep clicking like and to be fed more of the things that you do like. And this is a subconscious program. And people that are running the news and other institutions of society know this. As a matter of fact, they not only know it, they very much exploit it, and they magnify it to overwhelming proportions. Meaning, like it's actually fact. It's been recorded that and admitted by people who created social media that they created to give you kind of like a I can't think of the word right now. A casino mentality where it's like if you're constantly scrolling, it's like that's kind of like being at a slot machine. And if you need to refresh the page, they literally made the refresh of the page like playing a slot machine. You pull down the page in order to refresh it. So these are admitted things. They want you to be addicted to social media to give them more information and to rearrange your brain chemistry and neuroplasticity in order that if they bring up something on the news that you automatically think it's real because you have no awareness of the NDAA 2013, and then you have no awareness of the subconscious program that's already been put into you. So now all they have to do is that run the media, that run the news, that run how things are perceived. Basically, that's what the news is. It runs how things in entertainment runs how particular concepts and ideas are perceived. All they have to do is put someone up there and make it look like they do this or do that. And you have social media consciousness, so they say this is bad, this is good, and so you say, oh, this is bad, this is good. Now you might be saying, well, I have my own interests, I have my own this, I have my own that. How can they manipulate me? Because it's like I don't have the same interest as maybe 100 other people, and it's like on one level that's true, and on another level it's not true. We have to face the idea and the truth that across the board, many human beings are more similar than we think, and we share a lot of values, we share a lot of fears, we share a lot of insecurities, and much of the manipulation of information and how we're made to perceive it is based upon manipulating our insecurities, namely fear. And fear is something that we don't like. So if you can equate fear with an individual or an idea, people will not like it. And with the thing about fear is that when you're in fear and you think that the world is going to complete shit, you seize up and stop thinking. Fear is scientifically proven, if you succumb to it, to cease higher brain function. Period. You're not thinking from a higher level. You're just thinking in pure survival mode. Now I could talk about all the poison foods. It's like because all these things are being thrown at human beings to confuse our minds and confuse our psychology and mess up our genetics and neuroplasticity, neurochemistry, in order that we're not able to perceive life as it is, but how someone else wants us to see it. But I'm mainly talking through the social media avenue at this point. So so basically right now the news is playing a role where it's just presenting ideas in the way that it wants you to perceive them, and it wants you to agree with those that have established that narrative. And so you have social media consciousness, so you're just liking and disliking, liking and disliking, liking and disliking, and information's coming at you so fast you have to make a split decision about how you feel about something. And with social media being at play, there's the illusion that, I mean, it's partially true, but there's also the illusion that you have to think faster and you have to make decisions faster than normal. In yesteryear, you actually had more of a climate where you could actually sit and think about something and actually just kind of, have a little group meeting in your head about, hey, how do I feel about this? What is this? What is that? But generally, over the thousands of years that humanity, our current form of society, has been in existence, human beings have been programmed to not think critically. So it's not like this is a brand new dynamic. So it's just that it's being exploited to a much more exponentially greater degree. So basically, what can happen is you can bring in ideas about, hey, this is good and this is bad. People want the value of taking care of the earth has been in popular mass consciousness for a long time. But I would say it probably really started to be like hitting home like in the 90s, because I grew up on cartoons that were like, clean up the planet has to be this, the planet, like, like Captain Planet. And those TV shows. Now, I can't get in, and right now I'm talking about social media, so I'm not going to get into like, what's the proof of this or what's the proof of that. But those shows and those programs were meant for kids who were going to be in their 20s and 30s later on. Like Captain Planet was off the air long before the 20th century ended, but I say long before, like maybe 5-7 years, which isn't a long time in terms of a century. Uh, but there were other programs, and so now what people have to understand is that subconscious programs are implanted in your mind and then re-triggered at a different time, so that you immediately fall into line subconsciously. And so they'll talk about saving the environment, and it's like, first off, the environment doesn't need to be saved. The Earth is, like, according to science, is over 4 billion years old. The Earth has been in existence for 4 billion years. I don't think humanity has the ability at this stage to destroy the planet. At the level of technology that we're aware of, we're not able to destroy the planet. We're able to destroy ourselves and maybe the surface of the planet, and maybe make that barren and uninhabitable for humans. But I don't think that that's something. I don't think that we can destroy the planet with just because we throw trash in the ocean and because we have SUVs. Like I don't think that's possible regarding our current level of technology that we're all aware of in the public forum, because there are other forms of technology that are far more advanced that are not known by the public forum. Um, so so what's going on now is that an idea will be introduced in lieu of the idea that was implanted into you when you were a kid. And so that right now they're talking about saving the environment, but by you have to be less human to do so. Now, a lot of people are going to listen to this podcast and they're not going to connect with that idea because they don't see, like, what are you talking about? It's like saving the environment is good, taking care of our planet is good. Of course, taking care of our planet is good, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't take care of our planet, but we need to have perspective. We need to have perspective on, first off, being a human being doesn't mean that you're a bad person, that you disrespect the planet. All you need to do is change your behavior. Carbon consumption is not what is carbon emissions are not what is not completely what's destroying the planet. If you're talking about the ozone layer, chlorofluorocarbons, which actually comes from, which I'm not sure if they're using in these now, but chlorofluorocarbons or CFCs traditionally come from refrigerators, and so those are things that actually destroy the ozone layer. But what's happening is the idea will be introduced that you need to just stop doing everything modern, and you need to completely pull back and take in this new system that we're going to introduce to you, because you're bad, you're a human, you're a bad person, and all you're doing is just what everybody else has done. You're not really completely aware of how your actions are impacting the planet. Some of you are, but many are not, and so you'll think, okay, let me get rid of this, let me get rid of that, let me do this, let me do that. It's like I want to decrease my carbon footprint, and I don't. A lot of people don't understand the specifics of that. Anyway, I could go on and on. I could get really deep into that. But that's not the point. The point was about social media. So you introduce an idea, and it sounds good, it looks good, it smells good, and it's being presented perfectly. But it's like a fast food commercial. It's like if you look at the little videos about fast food commercials, the food that they're presenting to you in the commercial is not the food that you get when you order it. As a matter of fact, it's 9 times out of 10 it's fake. The cheese is not real. The meat bun is not real. The meat patty's not real. The bun is not real. It's being held together by toothpicks or glue or whatever. It's just to make it look a certain way. And then you're like, ooh, I want to go to McDonald's now because that burger looks delicious, but that burger is nothing but glue and wax. And then you go there and you know that the burger that you order is not going to look like that, but you kind of don't really pay attention to that. And it's like because you think, oh, it's just what it is, and it's like, no, this is extremely important. So it's like what's going to happen is they'll introduce a Big Mac that looks juicy and tender and stands up straighter than a fucking skyscraper, but the one that you're going to get is going to look like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. So that it's like what's being presented to you versus reality, and people aren't in touch with the reality. Many people are not because they're on social media all the time, and their brain chemistry has been trained to think about what I like and like get more of what I like and less of what I don't like. I like the dopamine when I act like I'm right. I don't like the cortisol when I'm not right. When I'm not right, cortisol is like I have a negative emotion. Cortisol is introduced into my body. I don't like that feeling. I want dopamine. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter that you create when you feel, it's like candy. But serotonin is more like a good, healthy meal that really, you know, feeds your body, feeds your on the deepest level, feeds you the amino acids that you need on the deepest level, and nourishes you and sustains you. It's not just candy. It's not like I'm feeling low on energy. I need sugar. It's like I might be a little low on energy. Let me get a nice, balanced, healthy, full of enzymes, full of amino acids meal. That's like serotonin, and essentially serotonin, not ironically, is mostly created in the gut. So, uh, but the tyranny can be introduced by saying this idea is good, this idea is bad. I know I've said this 1,000 times already, and I'm not really getting to the point. So I'm gonna get to the point, hopefully. um, so it's like this idea is good, that idea is bad. This person is good, this person is bad, and you're rallying behind what you're being told is good and what you're being told is bad because these people have been dressed up, dolled up, given the right lines, all that to look a certain way. And social media has to look like it's not, completely scripted and contrived and all that. And it's like, okay, they've developed a system to kind of make things look a little more authentic. And so you think, oh, that's authentic. That's an idea I get behind because who wouldn't want to help the planet? Who wouldn't want to do this? Who wouldn't want to do that? But really, what's behind that is a plan that's been in existence for the last 50 years to enslave you, to enslave your mind and enslave your body. And so, you'll rally right behind the idea that they're introducing through the media because in this particular podcast episode, because of the psychology that you have been trained to develop through social media. And social media is basically, I think, the core of pop culture right now. It is the core of pop culture. History, influence is being created there. That's just where it is. That's where it's at. So anyway, it took almost 25 minutes to make that point, but I really wanted to go over the things that I thought were important and the elements that I think surround the main point that I was trying to make. And so that's pretty much it. So be mindful when you're on social media. Don't just, it's like social media can get very boring and you can get in an echo chamber. You kind of want to hear, opinions that are intelligent and educated and critical, that are interesting to you, that expand your mind. You don't just want to see the same things over and over and over again because your brain gets dull, your mind gets dull. As a matter of fact, if you don't learn new things, if you don't do new things with your body, if you don't do new things with your mind and body, they atrophy. meaning they get weaker. You don't do new things with your muscle, you lose muscle mass. You don't do new things with your brain, you lose a little bit. Like your brain cells die off more because your brain, you're not, you know, the psychology is like, I don't really use my brain to think new thoughts or to have or to learn new things or to have new ideas. So it's like, oh, just die off. Just I don't need to learn anything new. But we as human beings, we're just capable of so much more than what we're doing right now, and so that's why I do episodes like this. And I thank you guys for listening to this episode. It's great, and you guys are awesome. And thank you so much. And I'll see you on the next episode.
I have no idea